Hello and welcome to this tips and tricks video around Microsoft Teams. In this video I'm going to show you some of the useful features I use on a daily basis with my classes. So I'm going to set up a demo meeting for this video. I'm just going to click Start Meeting, and I would normally add my participants or run from a scheduled meeting, but in this case I'm just going to run my own meeting. Okay, so we're now in a meeting, and I could invite others to join me. And I want to show you some of the things that I often get asked about, including permissions that allow students to do certain things, and so on. So let's go through them. To begin with, I'd like to show you how we can adjust our meeting options. So to do this, we click on the three dots at the top that says More Actions, and we're able to click on Meeting Options. Now in here, there are quite a few options that give us access to settings that I think make the experience a bit better. So I don't tend to have my lobby on for my students because it's just another barrier for them to join. However, for CPD or for staff development, I do, because I can then see who's joining, or for external presentations I do. So I can change these from everyone can bypass the lobby to people in my organization or trusted organizations and guests, to people in my organizations and guests, or only me. So I tend to leave it on the default, but you can change it. If you want everyone to have to wait in the lobby, change it to only me, and you'll then be able to allow or deny people access to your meeting. I can enable announce when callers join or leave. Now this is quite a nice feature because I'm able to keep track of people joining or leaving, whereas if you don't have it on, it's often quite difficult to see if anyone's left or joined. Now, who can present is a very, very useful feature. I tend to change it to only me because some students certainly initially would try and share their screens or share their own work when I was trying to share mine, and after about a day or so, we discovered you could change it to only me, and it actually solves all that hassle. The next option is who can present, and this allows you to really refine who has access to share their screen or share their work. Now in some classes you may find that students enjoy trying to share their screen when in fact you want to share yours, so we can just click on it and we can click only me. If you then want students to start to share their work maybe later in the lesson, you can change it to specific people or everybody. So only me is a good option by default there. You then may want to mute your students or participants in the meeting, and by default when you mute them, attendees can then unmute themselves whenever they like, which is, to be fair, quite useful because we usually mute students or staff who have maybe a dog in the background or have feedback or something, and then they can unmute when they're talking or when they've sorted out the sound issues. But if you want to, and if you really want to restrict the meeting, you can untoggle that option, and it will mean attendees cannot unmute, and therefore only you can unmute their mics and allow them to talk. Personally, I don't tend to use it because my students are all very trustworthy. They're all used to this now, and I find if I mute everybody, it's a very, very dull meeting. So I tend to leave it off, leave it on. But if you would like to use it, it's there. And then the meeting chat one is quite useful. By default, students or participants are able to join the meeting chat prior to the meeting, the day before or the morning of, for example, and they can chat away, and post-meeting they can chat away, which is quite useful. But a lot of all of our students have their own subject areas or course areas and group chats where they're able to chat. So if you change it to in meeting only, it just means they can only chat in this meeting chat whilst the meeting is taking place, let's say from 9 till 10 a.m. Whereas if we leave it enabled, they can chat long before and long after, which often means students have been discussing something and can't find it again. So if we direct them back to their channel or their group chat that we've set up for them, it just means it's tidier, and it means we can then more easily keep track of what's being said, because it means we haven't got to look at, let's say, 5 lessons worth of chats every day. So I tend to use in meeting only. I have never disabled the chat, but if you want to, you can completely disable the chat. And the last one, which is a bit of fun, are the reactions. You can allow reactions or disallow reactions, and these are the reactions up here. I use these almost constantly, the thumbs up and the hands up in particular. Feedback of how students are getting on is really, really important. So I always leave those on, and I would recommend you do the same. When you're happy with your settings, click Save, and they're done. Okay. You can do this during the meeting as well. So if you find that you suddenly want to disable chat or change the who can present option, you can do it mid-meeting, click Save, and it will update on everyone's computers. So you haven't got to do it beforehand necessarily. The final tip I would like to show you is under the More Actions button again, and that is live captions. Now these live captions are really, really interesting and really quite accurate for what they are. And having enabled it, it takes a moment, but having enabled it, you're able to have your live captions appear over the screen. Now as I start talking, the live captions will appear, and it's surprisingly accurate for the speed that it works. The way this works is your voice is sent to Microsoft Teams and the Microsoft servers. It's then translated or converted into text, and it's then sent back down to the screen of both your screen and the students. So it's a really useful feature, and I tend to leave this on even though I don't have any hard of hearing students, but I do have students who process written text a lot better than audio. So I tend to leave it on, and it just means that if they prefer to listen to me, they can. If they prefer to read and listen, they can also do that as well. Don't forget, it's been proven that closed captions actually enable spelling ability of students and the ability to help them understand some of the more technical terms. Because in IT in particular, and engineering for example, I mean maybe even science, we use a lot of terms that may not be spelt that easily, and it just means that they're able to see it on the screen. So that's live captions, and I'd really recommend using them. Okay, if you found this video helpful, please feel free to get in touch with the EdTech demonstrator team. We're here to help, and the support is fully funded, so it's no cost to you. Please get in touch, and we'll be glad to help further. Thank you.